Okay, so we start. Hello, everyone. I welcome you to the seminar of the International Tree Mortality Network. My name is Henrik Hartmann. I'm one of the coordinators. And today we welcome Teja Kattenborn and Clemens Mosig for the seminar on deadtrees.earth, a database of centimeter scale aerial imagery as primary reference data for mapping global tree mortality. So short bios on Clemens. Clemens Mosig completed his bachelor and master's degree in computer science at the Freie University of Berlin. He's now pursuing his PhD at Leipzig University in the area of Earth system, data science, and remote sensing, where he focuses on unveiling spatial and temporal patterns of tree mortality through remote sensing and novel machine learning methods. Great. And Teja, his research involves using remote sensing from various platforms and sensor types to study vegetation patterns and dynamics. His work seeks to integrate multiple remote sensing technologies to embrace the understanding of ecological processes and environmental changes. He completed his studies at the University of Freiburg and earned a PhD from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. And since 2023, Teja has been a professor for sensor-based geoinformatics at the University of Freiburg. So we're going to proceed with the seminar, and please, if you do have questions during the seminar, you can type them in the question and answers function at the bottom center of the screen. And after the talk, we will try to first bundle the questions a little bit and then try to answer the most questions of the ones that you addressed to us. So I wish you a nice seminar, and Teja, I think it's your turn now.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Henrik, for the very nice introduction, and also thank you for the entire Tree Mortality Network for hosting the seminar. So we can continue with our mission on deadtrees.earth. And so this is really a community effort. So we are very happy to have such a big audience here from the tree mortality sciences, if you want. And as you heard from Henrik, I'm here with Clemens, who is at least equally, if not even more, involved in this project where we try to uncover mortality patterns. As you can see here on the left, I mean, these are pictures which I think are, maybe common to some of us, or we've seen landscapes as these landscapes where we think, there's something happening which is not normal. So one term in this direction could be, or what we hear sometimes is excess tree mortality, which means that we have more mortality than before. And sometimes we have a good idea on this. Sometimes it's maybe a gut feeling. In any case, I think it's always good to have numbers on this, right? Numbers to support our science, to support modeling, to support understanding, but also to support conservation efforts and policymakers. So ideally, we would like to have what you see here on the right. So spatial maps where we see here shown in blue, in this turquoise blue, where we have mortality and where not. And one workhorse for this is, of course, remote sensing, especially satellite data. Satellite data such as the Landsat mission or the Sentinel mission. But what we need to really make this data useful are models which translate the raw satellite data into some mortality information. For example, where we find dead standing trees, so where did some mortality happen very recently. So, and for this, to translate the satellite data into mortality, we can use models like machine learning models, now deep learning. However, we have to train these models. Like we train our children to see things, we have to train these models to detect tree mortality. And a lot of people here in the audience are probably busy in collecting ground information all around the world. We all know about some forest inventory initiatives. However, from the satellite perspective or remote sensing perspective, such data is often not enough because we don't have sufficient quantities, sufficient representativeness, and often inventories are, we record such information with GPS or GNSS devices, so it's point measurements. It's not really made for a spatially continuous scale, or not ideal, and often not standardized. And I think this can evolve in time, but for the moment in our initiative here, we focus on another technology, another remote sensing technology as reference data, which is drones. So you could say this is our new ground truth or aerial truth. Why? Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the image here, you can clearly see where we have dead trees or not, or relatively with good, at least with good confidence. So if we have an auto image at peak of season, from summer, for example, then we can clearly see, okay, the trees are not green, so quite sure they are dead. And of course, if we want to reveal mortality patterns at a global scale, ideally we have a lot of drone images, and then we want to have some automatization. We want to have automatic tools to detect the dead trees in such drone images. This is where, as indicated on the left, we can use some neural networks, some pattern recognition. One bottleneck is, of course, that these models are quite data hungry. So we have to feed them a lot of examples where we have dead tree canopies, as you can see here indicated in blue. So we teach the model where we have dead trees and where not. But once we created such a catalog, which we can do with some annotations in a geographical information system, for example, ArcGIS or QGIS, once we have such examples available, we can train the models, and then, as already shown in some studies, we can, with quite good accuracy, map all the dead trees in such an auto image automatically. Of course, with this, we cannot reveal global mortality patterns, because with drone data, we can just map a small spatial extent. But as I said in the beginning, the aim is really to create reference data for the satellite scale, so we can translate this data to the satellite scale, which of course comes with coarser spatial resolutions. But for each pixel on the satellite scale, we can then determine the cover of the standing deadwood, as determined from this, we call this semantic segmentation. So these, let's say, polygons. Okay. So the gradient here on the satellite scale now basically indicates the cover from 0% to 100% cover of standing deadwood, so dead tree crowns. So with this, once we converted this to the coarser scale, we can train satellite-based models and then apply them to an entire region. So consider, for example, this region here, somewhere in the Black Forest in Germany. The white rectangles represent where we have some drone images available, so where some person did a flight at some time. And then based on these sample locations, we can train the satellite-based models and apply them to the entire area. This is what you see here for 1 year, for the year 2018. So the beauty in this is, of course, then we have spatially continuous information, a spatially continuous product. But also, we can apply this model not only to 2018, but also to any year. This is what you can see now. So once we train such a satellite-based models, this allows us to not only track the spatial, but also the temporal dynamics. And some of you might know that in Germany, we had really intense droughts in 2018 and 19. And in this animation, you can see that in 2018, the mortality was not that high. In 2019, it maybe increased a bit. Then in 2020, it's really with a lag effect accelerated. And because then the trees are weakened, we had several consecutive droughts, the trees are weakened, and pathogens and pests can do their work. And then you may see a sudden decrease again in 2021, where here then, of course, forest management kicks in, and they tried to remove the dead wood for many reasons, maybe just to create pulp and have some financial revenue of this. You could say a disaster, I guess, here, at least for the region. What I want to say with this is basically that you can derive a lot of information on or understanding on these dynamics. And what we did then was to train such models with drone data from across entire Germany, so that we could really for the entire country derive such a product. The product is based on Sentinel 1 and 2, so it has a 10-meter resolution, and it's a continuous product. So again, from 0 to 100% cover of standing deadwood. And we produce yearly products. So for each year we have the cover. And this product already allowed us also, for example, here in collaboration and great help of Henrik, to do some attribution to learn which species under which conditions is affected by mortality. So what, for example, how does topography play a role, or the droughts, or the species, and all these different aspects. So I think this was already quite a success. But of course, we, as I introduced in the beginning, we want to go on a global scale. So this is for the moment just a pioneering study to was more a proof of concept. And now Clemens will show you how we proceed to really apply this to the entire globe.
Let's see my slides, I guess. Cool. Applying this concept to the entire globe, first of all, means we need to collect a lot more reference data globally, because Germany has a lot of forests, and we have a lot of orthophotos in forests that we use as reference data. The reference data, the German dead trees are not representative of the dead trees of the entire world. So we need to collect some data elsewhere. And here you have some sample locations. On the top left, some trees in Germany. Then there's also got South Africa, Spain, New Zealand, Taiwan, Argentina. These are all examples from our database. And here even more. And you can see quite clearly that mortality looks very different in different parts of the world. And this gives you a good intuition that it's not enough to have just one reference data point from one biome. We really need a lot of training data from the entire world. And this is where we introduce our database project, where we collect drone reference data of the entire world in one location available for everyone. This is our current coverage of the database. These are about, I think, 1,500 drone orthophotos and an area images in general, covering the entire world. A lot of the photos are in the center of Europe right now, because this is where the initiative started almost a year ago. But we are slowly getting more and more coverage in the rest of the world, also in generally underrepresented regions. The data was contributed, like we didn't fly to each of these places and took drone orthophotos. Such a huge database is only possible with a large number of collaborations. So now in total, about 115 people contributed to this database to make this huge coverage possible. And then we also extracted very carefully some data from Open Area Map, which is another database initiative for area images in general. But they don't focus on forests, they focus on any area image. And then on the bottom right, the 21% means 21% of the database is now made up of open area map data, and the rest is from private individuals who contributed the data. And most of the data that you see here from the contributors is not was not publicly previously. So it's all new data. This database doesn't only cover the world spatially, but also temporally. So on the bottom left, you can see the distribution of data across the last decade. As we capture mostly drone data, you can see that the number of orthophotos, which is the gray bar, which are the gray bars, increases with each year as the drones become more and more accessible. In these days, you can buy a drone for 600 euros, go out in the forest, use some nice app, press play, and you have a drone orthophoto of your forest without any technical knowledge whatsoever. And yeah, that results in a huge increase. Also, in the bottom right, you have the orthophoto resolution to plot against the number of orthophotos and the area. And here you can see that most of the orthophotos that we have are higher than 10 centimeters in resolution. And I'll show later why this is really important. But these are this is what we call centimeter scale resolution, so single digit centimeter for the resolution. While we have many individual locations where we have orthophotos, there's also a lot of subsets in the database of orthophotos that are relevant on their own and valuable on their own, could be used for further analysis. For example, there's a 10-year time series, 10 centimeter resolution covered in the entire Black Forest National Park in Germany. There's 135 plots in Baden-Württemberg in Germany that were captured up to 3 consecutive years in a row. There's a data set covering 60 different tree mortality sites in national parks in Andalusia, Spain, that are 15 hectares in size. Then we also have 35 tree mortality sites in South Africa that were captured between 2022 and 2024, providing data from Africa that is usually quite rare. Also 16 plots from Iran that are distributed over the latitudinal gradient of the Zagros forest, capturing the oak decline. And then the Nibio Institute in Norway also graciously provided the entire they will provide the entire collection of orthophotos, but now they've already committed to providing a part of their huge orthophoto collection of forests in Norway. If we go a bit more specific into the database, you may want to know how one specific entry in the database looks like. So on the right, you have one orthophoto, and I explain what these lines in the middle mean in a second. And each orthophoto has an author or list of authors associated with it. That's important because we want to not just collect data from individuals and then sell it as our own data, but we're really a service community presenting everyone's data in a standardized manner. But really the community is the one who owns the data. Then what also the orthophoto also has an acquisition date, and that's mandatory, which is super important because we combine, or you combine later, the orthophoto with the satellite time series. And as this orthophoto is basically a reference data point, not only in space, but also in time, you really need this timestamp to locate in the satellite time series what this reference data is for. Thirdly, basically all data is published under CC BY license, which is again a really important point because we want to make this database as open as possible. CC BY basically means that you can use the data however you like as long as you provide attribution. And then lastly, we also provide the resolution for the orthophoto. So this, in this case, is 3.4 centimeters, which means 1 pixel has a width and height of 3.4 centimeters, meaning at this resolution, you can detect and view individual branches. As drone orthophotos often have the issue that the borders are distorted, we also provide an area of interest that delineates the interesting part and the high quality part in the orthophoto. The area of interest also has a quality attribute, and the quality attribute says something about the quality of the orthophoto inside the area of interest. So in this case, it's 3 out of 3, which is the best quality, because inside the AOE, there's no distortions, no gaps, and everything looks clean and visually perfect. Thirdly, for now, I think about 400 orthophotos in the database, we provide a label set, which means we delineated, not only we, but other people, delineated standing deadwood with polygons. There's multiple types of delineations. One of them is instant segmentation, which you can now see on the right, where each tree has their own polygon. That's one type of label. The other type of label is semantic segmentation, where neighboring trees don't necessarily have to be separated, so there could be one polygon. And then lastly, for the label set, you can see here that the source says manual segmentation, meaning this data set, this label set was obtained manually. But in the database, we also include machine learning products or outputs, meaning if we or someone else builds a machine learning pipeline that detects tree mortality automatically, this will also be featured in the database, but you can differentiate between these different types by the label source. We will then say automatic segmentation. When we built up the database and went from Germany to the entire world, and also a little bit before that, we noticed quite quickly that the orthophoto resolution is very crucial for the accuracy with which we can delineate standing deadwood in area images. And we noticed that in some ecosystems, so example on the top, there's a conifer tree that died, and it's clearly, you can clearly see the outline of the dead tree at any resolution. So on the x-axis, you have the resolution. On the y-axis, you have got 4 different plots. But we noticed quickly that to really capture tree mortality in any ecosystem, you need centimeter scale aerial images. The second row shows a dead ash in a nearby Leipzig, which is a city in Germany. And here you can see that from 10 centimeters, like 10 centimeters is still fine, but 20 centimeters, 40, 60. It's not only hard to figure out where the dead tree ends, but it's also incredibly hard to figure out if there's in the dead tree. And third row shows a plot in Spain where it gets even more difficult because the forest floor is very bright. So when trees die, they become very, very similar to the forest floor, meaning it becomes like one huge blurry patch. This becomes even more evident if you look in the very bottom row where you can see rocks. There's not a single dead tree in the image. There's just an alive tree and many dead rocks. And not dead rocks, there's those. And at 60 centimeters, you cannot differentiate between a dead tree in the third row and rocks in the fourth row. Which is why for database, we focus mainly on centimeter scale images. We set up the database and the whole project in a way that is not just a project for one specific use case and one specific tree mortality application. So what Teja has shown in the introduction is one specific methodology, how you can use aerial images to go to satellite imagery, a wall-to-wall product with satellite imagery. But the database really allows for a lot of other products in between at the end as well. So when you start off, we have the orthophoto database and manual delineations of deadwood, as I've shown on the previous slides. And then you can use these orthophotos and the manual delineations for any type of segmentation model. You could also, if there's some computer vision person in the room, you could also use it for object detection model or any other type of model, or for formal analysis without any kind of machine learning. In this case, you would obtain automated delineations of deadwood, and then you could further use these automated delineations of deadwood and use any kind of global satellite mission. Right now it's Landsat and Sentinel, but there's also many other satellites out there. In the future, there will be even more. And then you can combine these automated delineations, use these as ground truth and as training data for the satellite data, build some model, and then apply this model on global satellite data to obtain a global tree mortality product. This can be of the kind that we've shown in the beginning with the fractional cover, but can really be any kind of global tree mortality product. And at a lot of these stages, we have already work in progress, and I'll show you some of it in the next slides. But since the database is completely open, you can download the entire database, without even a user account, which we'll show in a bit. You can do whatever you like with the database and find other use cases. It could even go beyond tree mortality to, for example, tree line research or forest health or super resolution models in the computer vision community. So as said, we have some more specific projects that use the database in a very specific fashion. So one of them is semantic segmentation across resolutions in drone orthophotos. So here since we use any drone data that we get and want to make use of it, the models that detect standing deadwood in these drone orthophotos automatically need to be able to work with all types of resolutions. So 1 centimeter resolution all the way up to 20 centimeter resolution. So in this work, Jakobus and our team is building a model that uses orthophotos from 2 centimeters to 20 centimeters and feeds them equally distributed into a model to build a model that is able to detect deadwood, hopefully in any biome, and then also across any resolution. And here we noticed some interesting results. These are very preliminary. And that is on the x-axis, you have the image resolution, and on the y-axis, you have 3 different biomes. And as the model that we use iterates through orthophotos at patches that look like this, the higher the resolution gets, the lower the spatial context gets. So the more zoomed in the image will be, meaning that while a high resolution may make the tree clearer in the image, it also reduces the spatial context the model will have. And in this case, so the color is the performance of the model. The brighter the color is, the higher the performance. So in this case, the model performance decreases with a higher resolution. There's actually a sweet spot about 7 centimeters of resolution for model performance. In another project, Yang Sheng from the University of Copenhagen has worked in instant segmentation with a resolution-aware model. And instant segmentation, as I said before, is where you try to not only detect dead trees, but also differentiate between neighboring dead trees and basically draw a line between them. And she uses a similar architecture, both the twist and that she gives the model not only the image as input, but also encodes the resolution so that the model kind of has an idea what spatial context and what resolution it gets. And the resolution quite drastically improves the performance. For the experts in the room, this is how the architecture looks in detail. So, as said, since drone orthophotos are only cover only very small areas, but we have them in a lot of places in the world. They are only the training data and the reference data with the overall goal to have a wall-to-wall map based on satellite data. So here I show again a more detailed methodology, how we go from drone orthophotos all the way to satellite data and our current prototype performance for the satellite-based model. So as said, we take the drone orthophoto, we manually or automatically delineate standing deadwood and within an area of interest. Then we overlay the 10-meter pixel grid. In this case, it's the Sentinel pixel grid. And for each pixel, we compute the share of standing deadwood. So a really dark red in this case means there's a high amount of standing deadwood. If you look back, this is where of dead trees were. And the white pixels in the image denote very, very low or no share of standing deadwood. And no standing deadwood also means anything outside of forests. And this raster is the training data for our model that gets on the one side the Sentinel data, Sentinel 1 and 2, so it's multispectral data and radar data, a time series of it, and then it learns with the data on the left side how tree mortality looks in Sentinel 1 and 2 time series. Our current model performance is fairly decent, but quite noisy still. We're working on it. Everything is a prototype here. And so on the bottom, you have on the x-axis, you have the label. On the y-axis, you have the prediction. This is the model performance across 300 sites in 5-fold cross-validation. So all these plots, all these points are only in the validation set. So x-axis again is ground truth and y-axis is what our model says. And the diagonal is so if the model would be perfect, every point would be diagonal. The color in the scatter plot indicates the density of the points. And here yellow means a high density and a darker purple or blue means a lower density. And the model works fairly well, but yes, you can see a lot of noise, many errors, but most of the points are in the right spot. Here's a more visual representation of how well the model works right now. So on the left side, you have the orthophoto with labels. In the middle, you have the heat map. So the pixels in the Sentinel grid that were derived from the orthophoto and labels. The middle is the training data. And the very right side is the prediction from the Sentinel 1 and 2 data. And these are predictions in places that the model has never seen. So it's inside the validation set. And you can see while it's not perfect, the patterns of mortality match. And these plots are not just in Germany, they are distributed across the whole world. I'm not sure which countries are shown right now. It's definitely Finland, it's Spain, and two more countries, I forgot which. And this is quite promising. So right now we are finishing up the prototype, trying to make it more stable. And okay. So this is the state of the technical state of the database and the models that we're working on. And now Teja is going to take over and show how we make this whole project user accessible, because all of what I showed was really quite technical. But if you want to make data or product or model really impactful, you need to make them user accessible, which means without any kind of computer science knowledge. And Teja is going to show how we try to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Clemens, for sharing the insights on, let's say, what's under the hood of the methods, also in terms of what's under the hood in terms of the database. So as Clemens said, we are really trying to make this data accessible, to help the community, but to access the data, but also to easily provide data and also make use of these great methods Clemens and others develop. And this is now the landing page of deadtrees.earth. So it's really, this is the URL, so the web address of the initiative. It has quite a dystopian title, but I think we also need this to get some attention to present and share what we develop here. So on the landing page, you can get some basic information, again, underlining that this is an open access community effort, that we provide automatic tree detection, or will provide this on the drone or aerial image scale. with the methods Clemens already introduced. Then we will also here place the large-scale tree mortality maps. And then in the future, we also want to provide an analysis-ready training data. So this is the last part dedicated to the machine learning community, so that using all this data, we can also integrate this community, which can then help us to improve the methods or come up with new ideas, new technology, new methods. All right, so this is the home section. Let's have a look at the dataset section of the web portal. So if you go there, you see a lot of points, and this is those locations where we have drone images. So this is already quite a lot. Already, I would say, for this initiative being so young, already quite a good coverage. So it all basically kicked off, let's say, last year. But really, the web portal and everything is, I think, there since February or so. And now with really accelerating pace, we get more and more people sharing the data with us. And this is where we are at the moment, roughly. And of course, we have a typical bias in Europe where we have quite a lot of data. So also, me, but also Clemens and others, we also, in any situations where we can, we take the drones with us to holidays, to travels, to acquire new data. But also there are a lot of other research institutions in Europe which share data. Of course, also in the US, as obvious, when it comes to open data, we have a lot of data there as well. Luckily, what we did not expect, that we have so much data already from tropical regions in South America. Of course, it could be better, but again, this is just a start. Where we really have a lot of blind spots is, of course, in Africa and Asia. But I think we are getting there to really achieve global coverage, which is, as Clemens already outlined, really an urgent necessity to build globally transferable and robust models. Anyway, so about this dataset section, here you can explore any point. So if you click on it, you can have a deeper look at the individual contributions. So for example, here we have a contribution by Julian Frey, a colleague from the University of Freiburg, who provided already more than 100 auto images from one big project. So this, you can see when it was acquired. So for example, here on the 4th of October 2019, you can have a look at the dataset size of the license on the platform. So platform means if it was a drone image or aerial image. And then there are some other informations like the label quality, if there are labels available, so the reference data, so indicating where we have dead trees and where not. And you also find the download button where you can really already now download data. And now I want to show you the labels, the reference data. So this is where we have dead tree canopies. For the moment, this is only available, in terms of hand level data. So this was really carefully delineated by data contributors or by our team. This is also where in the future you will find, or in a similar way, the segmentation by the AI. So the idea is really, if you upload data, then ideally within minutes or maybe an hour or so, there will be a segmentation provided by an AI, which, as Clemens already outlined, works already quite well. And this we plan to integrate into the database in November, I think latest December. So this is, I think, also a nice service to the community. So each person on the Earth having such a drone, which produces normal aerial images, can basically check what's happening in their backyard or in their private forest or in their conservation area. So simply upload an image and then download the result. This is our idea. Okay, so much to the dataset section. Here you can also compare the auto image with the satellite data, but you can also have a look at the satellite data in the map section. So let's jump to the map section. So here we have just as a base map some aerial imagery from I think it's here from Mapbox, so essentially OpenStreetMap. which we just use as reference for interpretation. And I think this is from 2018, the base map, if I'm not mistaken. And then we can overlay our satellite-based products. So again, the cover fraction of standing deadwood. And so, yeah, this very bluish color means, yeah, full cover of standing deadwood. And then we have a gradient where the cover decreases, which is, I think, what we did not underline so far. So the really cool or important thing here with the Sentinel data, the 10-meter resolution, but also the cover fraction, so the regression, if you want, is that we can also nicely depict scattered tree mortality, which we observe in a lot of ecosystems, what we could not do with previous products, for example, derived from Landsat, which has a 30-meter resolution, or with binary products, which just say dead or alive. I think here was, the scattered tree mortality, as you can see, for example, and some gradients here. To reveal the scattered mortality, you really need a high spatial resolution, but also a continuous product, else you may miss it. This is also what we found a bit compared to other existing products. Right, then, you see here, this is the satellite product for 2018. We can also inspect in the other years. For the time being, this is the product which I introduced in the very beginning, which is available for the moment only for Germany. So this was, let's say, the pioneering, the proof of concept study. And here we expect, I think around early 2025 to really provide the community then on a global scale with the satellite products for other countries and also any products. But for the time being, this is just a teaser. We can just explore the data from Germany. But I think this is already quite promising then to see the temporal evolution. All right. So much to the map section, where you will find in the future the satellite-based products. They're already also downloadable from the study of Schiefer et al. If you don't find the link, then please contact us. I also want to show you another section, which is the profile section. So, as Clemens already introduced, you can download the data without a profile. But if you want to upload data, you need a profile. But you can use a Google login, or I think it should be quite easy to register. We want users to register if they want to upload data, just to make the database a bit more robust against hacks or against some floods, that people don't know, not randomly upload anything, but that we have some sort of security. And also some quality check, that not some, I don't know, some youngsters upload some cat and dog images or whatsoever. And I think also a profile is quite nice to manage your data, to track your data. For example, this here is now my profile. So you see here, Teja Kattenborn. And I can check what I uploaded so far. I can keep track of things here. And in the future, we also want to implement some other functionalities here, that you can group your data, for example, into projects, or for example, countries, or whatever you like. Here, what you can see here, you see the file names which are uploaded. One common theme here in these file names is basically this Madeira thing. So I was recently in a conference in Madeira, as you can see on the date, which is also provided, was in September. And I'm a bit underlining this to show you how interactive this database is. So you can technically, go out today, fly with a drone, and upload the data today. And and when we have the full functionality, then this data should appear within a few days on deadtrees.earth. But I'm not only showing you this interactive thing here, but also one very important feature in dark blue on the right side, namely the upload button. And this is also one of the key incentives today for us to present this initiative here, to motivate you to click on this button. If you click on this button, you find here a function where you can select files, and then you can enter the authors of these auto images. So maybe it was you and some colleagues which acquired some data. And you can very easily define the acquisition date, which is very important for us to synchronize the drone data with the satellite data. So this is very critical for training. You can also define what type of data it is, what license you want the data to be offered. So should it be fully open? Or maybe it should only be available for us for improving our models, but maybe not open to the entire community. And you can also provide some additional information. Then you can provide data to us and help us on this mission. And yeah, I mean, then you don't only help us, but I think we help the entire community. So as outlined before, this is really a community effort. We already have so many helping hands here. And also, as Clemens already showed with, for example, this cooperation from Yang Cheng from the University of Hagen, we're very open to collaboration. This should really be a team effort. We see ourselves just as the enablers to make this possible. So we happily invite you to become part of the team if you have, for example, auto images with a spatial resolution of better than 10 centimeters. This doesn't have to be drone images or aerial images of only dead trees. It can also be alive trees or also very open forests, basically any kind of forest, because our models have to see them all, right? Because we want to also create models which are transferable to any situation. If you have, but this is only optionally, you can also provide us with some reference data. So labels, so basically vector data. So this can be polygons where you clearly delineated the trees, or can be also points, maybe you selected in project individual trees, or boxes like bounding boxes. Anything in this direction helps us. But again, the most important thing is the auto images. You can also just provide auto images and become part of the team, which means that with the upcoming work on this database and the data sets, we also try to integrate everyone into publication outputs. So we invite people to help us writing articles, to develop methods and so forth. So Clemens is at the moment very busy creating the first dataset paper where we describe the whole environment here, or this database, where we already have a lot of authors, which is really a great help also to integrate all these different perspectives and potential. Right. So again, call for data. If you have any data in this direction, or if you have colleagues or know colleagues that know colleagues who might have some data, then please spread the word. And with this wish, we come to an end, and now Clemens will wrap up our talk.
Next slide, please. Yeah. So one last slide, or two more slides, and that is the outlook for the future. And so Q3, that's 2024, that's already now. We have an upload and download functionality for the database. Automatic segmentation of the dead tree crowns in airborne data will be implemented in the next quarter. Thinking of it, this is already started this last quarter. And in the beginning of next year, we'll hopefully have some form of global satellite products on tree mortality data. They won't be wall-to-wall in the beginning, but there will be patches in somewhere distributed in the world where we have a lot of reference data, where we are confident with our models. We plan for the computer vision community. We plan AI-ready data sets. So no pre-processing required, no sampling required. And at some point, we want to attribute tree mortality globally and maybe do some forecasting if that's possible, but that's pretty far in the future. Next slide, please. And that's the last slide. This is super small, but these are all the current contributors that we have. These are 115 from over 70 different institutions worldwide. We thank all of them a lot because this ever wouldn't have been possible without them. If you have questions, please contact us or collaborations. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Teja and Clemens, for this very interesting, clear, and detailed presentations. I'm not entirely sure, Tom, did you want to do the questions now? I didn't have access to organize the questions on that document, but I can do this also, however you want. Some of the questions actually you addressed in your presentation already because it was so detailed and clear. But maybe I should continue and just ask a few questions that we considered really relevant. So for example, there was the question, and you mentioned this to some degree, if the algorithm is able to detect partial canopy dieback, like what we observed in Germany with beech following the drought. So you showed some images on, I think this was spruce mortality, also partial, but beech forests are usually very mixed, and this is probably an additional challenge, right? Can you say something to that?
This goes probably to you, Clemens.
Sure. Yeah, so generally, I mean, since it's hard to differentiate between neighboring trees and a lot of forests, we generally basically look at the forest from the top as like one huge mass, and then everything that is dead is counted as standing deadwood, which means an entire standing dead tree is dead, but also if half the tree is dead, this is also counted as standing deadwood. And maybe in an aerial image, you're often able to differentiate between partial dieback and full dieback, probably quite clearly in a lot of cases. But when you go to satellite resolution, so 10 meters, this is just, you won't be able to differentiate between partial dieback and full dieback. So you have to consider both. That's the short answer.
Okay, so there's other questions. Are there any future aims to merge both standing deadwood prediction alongside data on canopy gap formation to get more complete picture of mortality events and processes such as blowdowns? This comes from Scott Birmingham.
Yeah, I can try. So yeah, this is a really interesting question and fits quite well what we're trying to do, in fact, at the moment. So as shown here, at the moment, the main focus is to predict the standing deadwood. But as we can also see here, we have gaps here, right? And it could be that these gaps have been for a long time, but it could also be that these gaps are because there was deadwood and it was removed. So to really get the full picture on mortality, we really want to see also the evolution of the gaps. And this is where we didn't show this here, but where we also currently busy testing models to just see if there's crowns or not. And if we upscale this and have, let's say, a large-scale crown map, a crown cover fraction map, we could also do differences between years and then see, okay, do gaps increase or decrease or increase? So in other words, do we have a denser forest or not? Or do we have, yeah, basically forest loss or forest gain? And I think this would be a very nice data product as well. And yeah, this is definitely planned for sure. Yeah, because it would follow the same methodology.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mirella said that this was a great presentation, an initiative for effective tree mortality monitoring. So that's already good. She mentions though that there's maybe sometimes the occasions that soils are misclassified as dead trees, and how do you deal with this? And whether you use soil as a class or what approach to get to best results in avoiding that.
Maybe I can try to answer that. So we only do, in orthophotos, we only do binary segmentation. So either it's a dead tree or it's everything else. And yes, especially, so the misclassification with soils, that's a very good point. And that is an issue. But if the resolution in the images is high enough, so better than 10 centimeters, then you can clearly differentiate between soils and forests. And if the amount of data that you train your model with that represents soil is enough, then the model will be able to differentiate between soil and forests.
Okay, Tom, do you want to continue?
And if you like, yeah. Yeah, thanks, guys. So maybe just, well, we're almost at the end, so just a couple more questions. One from Catherine Mercer, and she also thanked you for a really great presentation, but wonders if you had any issues linking the drone images to the satellite data. Do you have GPS positioning problems? And I guess we could add on to that, are there ways to mitigate that, if so?
Yeah, it's I can maybe do a take on this. So with drones, I mean the geopositioning basically relies on GNSS, and as we all know, with our smartphones, there can be some substantial inaccuracy. The good news is the drones are above the canopy, so they should most of the time have a good satellite connection, so the accuracy should be fairly well. However, it can still be that we have some error here of, I don't know, 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters, also depending on the area, depending on the sky conditions and the satellite constellations. And this can, of course, be an issue if, for example, here our segments don't align with the satellite pixels. And we also have to see that the satellite data, although the ESA and NASA are constantly working on refining the spatial co-registration or the geo-rectification, it's also not perfect, especially in hilly areas where we have really complex topography. So this is certainly an issue. Because if we, let's say, have a 3 meter error in the drone images, another 10 meter in the Sentinel images, there can be some alignment. However, I think we can come or overcome this if we have a lot of data. So we could see, okay, this is a challenge, but it's basically noise. And if we look again at the scatter plots here of Clemens, this could also explain why we have here. Although the model looks quite good, but we have quite some noise. And this could be, in fact, misalignments as well, where the reference data, which we use also for testing, but independent test data, is not perfectly aligned. But yeah, long story short, this is a challenge, but we just try to overcome this with even more data.
A classic ecologist response.
Yeah.
Take some more samples. Yeah, amazing, really, really fascinating, and a great vision that you guys have here. We're at the end of our hour. I just want to ask like one quick question, because you mentioned you really welcome help from collaborations, and are there any particular aspects that you think, wow, it would be really good to have some help on this from somebody from the outside? Or maybe you have it all covered.
I mean, from the data perspective, the global south is underrepresented in most studies, but also in this study. That's not a secret. So with more collaborations in that direction, that would hugely help. Obviously, not only us, but the entire community, because this database is open. From the knowledge perspective, since we are mostly familiar with the forests in Europe, maybe not South America or the tropics, we'll probably need some feedback there. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, we're quite good or experienced in creating products, making the data talk to each other and integrating the computer vision models. But once we have the product, and somebody has to make use of it. So this is, I think, where we can really need a lot of help then already maybe on these local data sets from the drone perspective, but then once we have the large scale products to really use this data to understand, okay, why do we have some mortality there, or is it excess tree mortality? How does it relate to climate extremes? How important are the site conditions, or how does management affect all of this? So this is where then all the mortality experts come into play. So basically here the audience, and where we also really want to invite you to brainstorm also with us how this can be used, how this can also be improved. And I think this is where we also invite people to use the data. And hopefully there will be a lot of proposals also in this direction where people harness this data treasure to create knowledge.
So we have to invite you back in a year or so to show the first full-scale predictions based on your timeline. Brave people putting up a timeline. A lot of respect for you. So I think we have to finish it there. And thank you very much for a fascinating presentation, and also to all the audience members who asked questions. I apologize that we couldn't get through all of them. Just the last thing to mention is that we should have 2 more speakers lined up this year in this seminar series. There'll be Paloma Ruiz Benito from the University of Alcalá in Spain, and then followed by Brendan Choate from Australia. And we will be sending out the information on the dates and times for those in the coming days, weeks, depends how organized we are. So thanks very much all, and have a good rest of the day wherever you are. Cheers.
Thank you
so much. Have a
Great
nice
talk.
day.